Ambassador Kethvar of the Zephyrian Collective barely suppressed his mandibles from clicking in amusement as he observed the human delegation's arrival at the Galactic Technology Summit. Their ship, if it could even be called that, was a grotesque amalgamation of metal plates welded together with visible seams. Electromagnetic emissions leaked from every junction, and the propulsion system, dear ancestors, it actually burned chemical fuel. "Primitive doesn't begin to describe it," whispered Ambassador Yilneth, her crystalline form refracting the station's ambient light. "My offspring's first engineering project showed more sophistication." The assembled representatives from 47 star systems had gathered to showcase their latest technological marvels. The Zephyrians had brought their quantum phase manipulators, capable of shifting matter between dimensions. The crystalline hierarchy demonstrated their thought-based computing matrices that processed information at the speed of consciousness itself. Even the militaristic Corvan Empire had impressed everyone with their reality anchor weapons that could lock spacetime itself in place. Then came humanity's turn. Dr. Sarah Chen stepped forward, her simple fabric clothing a stark contrast to the elaborate biomechanical suits and energy field garments worn by other delegates. In her hands, she carried what appeared to be nothing more than a black box with crude copper wiring protruding from its sides. "Esteemed colleagues," she began, her voice carrying easily through the translation fields, "we present our latest achievement in applied physics." A collective rustle of skepticism rippled through the assembly. What could these newcomers possibly offer that civilizations millions of years older hadn't already perfected? "We call it a probability cascade generator," Dr. Chen continued, seemingly oblivious to the barely concealed derision around her. "Our approach was unconventional." Kethvar's translator struggled with the human concept she described next. Something about percussive maintenance and hitting things until they work. The explanation that followed made even less sense. Apparently, human engineers had discovered that their primitive computational systems, when subjected to specific electromagnetic interference patterns, began exhibiting impossible behaviors. "The breakthrough came," Dr. Chen explained, "when our deep space monitoring station started receiving signals that our own computers were sending from next Tuesday." The assembly fell silent. Temporal mechanics were considered the pinnacle of theoretical physics, studied by the galaxy's greatest minds for eons without practical application. "That's impossible," declared Supreme Logician Vrexnel of the Machine Consensus, his optical sensors whirring in agitation. "Temporal paradoxes create infinite recursive loops. Any civilization attempting such manipulation would collapse into probability foam." Dr. Chen smiled, a peculiar human expression that somehow conveyed both humility and complete confidence. "That's what we thought too. Then we realized we were approaching the problem backwards." She activated the device. Nothing happened. Then everything happened at once. The readings on every piece of advanced equipment in the chamber began fluctuating wildly. Quantum sensors designed to detect particles that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously registered measurements that violated fundamental constants. The Zephyrian ambassador watched in growing alarm as his phase manipulator began randomly shifting parts of itself into dimensions that didn't exist. "What you're witnessing," Dr. Chen said calmly, as reality hiccuped around them, "is localized causality inversion. Our computers weren't receiving signals from the future. They were sending solutions to problems they hadn't encountered yet, creating a closed temporal loop that bootstraps itself into existence." Ambassador Yilneth's crystalline form began resonating at frequencies that translated roughly to impossible in 17 different languages simultaneously. Her thought matrix computers, marvels of conscious engineering, were displaying error messages that shouldn't have been possible to conceive. "The key insight," Dr. Chen continued as space-time continued its localized rebellion, "came from our maintenance engineer, Bob. He noticed that our systems worked better after he spilled coffee on them. Turns out, organic compounds create quantum uncertainty patterns that allow probability itself to be negotiable. The Corvan Battle Coordinator's reality anchors, designed to lock down spacetime itself, were now frantically attempting to stabilize coordinates that kept shifting to locations that existed yesterday but wouldn't be built until tomorrow. But how? Supreme Logician Vrexnel began, then stopped. His sensors were detecting computational processes occurring in the coffee stain on Dr. Chen's device. The organic molecules were somehow processing information at rates that made quantum computers look like stone tablets. "We didn't set out to rewrite physics," Dr. Chen explained, as her colleagues distributed similar devices to the stunned delegates. "We just kept fixing things the way humans always have, with ingenuity, stubbornness, and the occasional strategic application of percussive maintenance. It turns out the universe responds well to being treated like a particularly stubborn piece of machinery." As the demonstration concluded and local reality grudgingly returned to its normal configuration, the assembled representatives of galactic civilization sat in stunned silence. Their elegant theories and sophisticated technologies, refined over millions of years, had just been casually superseded by what appeared to be controlled applications of creative desperation. Kethvar looked at the crude device now sitting on his desk, quietly rewriting the fundamental laws of physics in its immediate vicinity. His people's quantum phase manipulators, once the pride of their civilization, seemed suddenly quaint by comparison. "There is," he said slowly, his translator, somehow conveying his bewilderment perfectly, "a human saying I believe applies here. If it's stupid but it works, it isn't stupid." Dr. Chen nodded sagely. "Actually, Ambassador, we prefer the corollary. The difference between science and screwing around is writing it down. We've found that the universe doesn't particularly care about elegance, it just wants to see if you're paying attention." As the delegates began the long process of reconsidering everything they thought they knew about reality, one thing became crystal clear. Humanity hadn't just joined the galactic community. They had fundamentally changed what it meant to be part of it. The galaxy had mocked humanity's primitive technology. Now it was frantically taking notes.